The large meeting room fell silent as Captain James Walker stood before the United Earth Defense Council. 8 stern faces stared at him from their elevated seats. Behind them, the Earth was visible through a massive window, a blue jewel against the blackness of space. "So, Captain Walker," began Admiral Green, his voice heavy with doubt, "you're suggesting we build this?" He gestured to the hologram floating in the center of the room, a sleek, dark vessel unlike any battleship ever built. "Yes, sir," Walker said, standing tall. His uniform was perfectly pressed, but his eyes showed the tiredness of someone who hadn't slept in days. "The Silent Phantom design uses technology that will change everything." Walker touched a control panel, and the hologram expanded to show the ship's inner workings. The core uses a modified quantum field that absorbs all energy instead of emitting it. No heat, no radiation, no sound. It would be completely invisible to all known scanning methods. Council member Davis laughed. "Impossible. The laws of physics don't work that way." "With respect, they do," Walker insisted. "My team has run thousands of simulations. The math works." "And these weapon systems?" asked Admiral Green. "You're claiming firepower that could match a small moon." Walker nodded. "The same technology that makes it silent also allows for energy storage beyond anything we've built before." The oldest member of the council, Dr. Bell, leaned forward. "Captain, even if, and this is a massive if, your design could work, the Galactic Coalition has technology centuries ahead of ours. They've made it clear that any significant military advancement by humans would be seen as a treaty violation. The Coalition won't help us against the Vorn," Walker said, his voice rising slightly. "We've lost 3 colonies already. The Vorn don't care about treaties." Admiral Green stood up. "Thank you, Captain Walker. We'll review your proposal." Walker knew that tone. It was the sound of rejection wrapped in politeness. 3 days later, the official message came through. Project Silent Phantom was denied. Captain James Walker was reassigned to command a small patrol vessel named the UES Sentinel, tasked with monitoring the quiet edges of human space. 3 years passed. James Walker sat in the captain's chair of the Sentinel, staring at reports of another human colony lost to the Vorn Dominion. His small ship wasn't even allowed near the front lines. They were glorified border guards, watching empty space while humanity slowly died. "Captain," called his communications officer, "incoming encrypted message. Priority Ultra." Walker frowned. Ultra priority was reserved for extinction-level events. "Put it through to my private terminal." In his quarters, Walker opened the message. Admiral Thomas Reed's face appeared, older, grayer than Walker remembered. Reed had been the only council member who had privately supported the Silent Phantom project. "James," Reed said, his image flickering, "if you're seeing this, I'm already dead. The Vorn have broken through our main defenses. Earth has maybe 2 months before they reach us." He coughed, blood visible on his hand. "The Coalition is still considering intervention. They'll debate until we're all dead." Reed leaned closer to the camera. "But I didn't give up on your design, son. I couldn't build the fleet we needed. But I built one. One ship, your ship." Coordinates appeared on the screen. "It's yours to command. It's all I could do. Good luck, Captain. It's humanity's last hope." The message ended. Walker sat motionless for several minutes, then called the bridge. "Set course for these coordinates. Maximum speed." "Sir," his navigator questioned. "That's in the Lambda asteroid belt. There's nothing out there." "There is now," Walker said quietly. "And we need to find it." The Lambda belt was a dense field of rocks and ice at the edge of human territory. The Sentinel weaved through the asteroids for hours before reaching the coordinates. "Nothing here, sir," reported the navigator. Walker stared out the viewport. "Broadcast on frequency 121.3. Message. The math works." His crew exchanged confused glances, but followed the order. For 30 seconds, nothing happened. Then, like a curtain being pulled aside, A massive orbital facility appeared before them, nestled inside a hollowed-out asteroid. What the? The navigator's voice trailed off in amazement. Walker smiled for the first time in years. Cloaking technology. It was always the first step. The facility's docking bay opened, and Walker ordered the Sentinel to enter. Inside the cavernous bay, crews in unmarked uniforms worked around a massive shape covered by dark material. As Walker and his senior officers stepped onto the dock, a man in a simple gray uniform approached. "Captain Walker, I'm Chief Engineer Taylor. Admiral Reed told us you would come if things went bad." He looked grim. "We received word of the Admiral's death yesterday. The facility is yours now." Walker looked up at the covered shape. "Is that?" Taylor nodded and pressed a button on his wrist device. The covering material retracted, revealing section by section a battleship unlike anything humanity had built before. It was larger than a standard destroyer, but more streamlined. Its hull was a deep, non-reflective black that seemed to swallow light. No external engines were visible, no weapon ports, nothing that would mark it as a warship, yet it radiated power. "The UES Phantom," Taylor said with quiet pride. "Built exactly to your specifications." Walker approached the ship slowly, almost afraid to believe it was real. He placed his hand against the hull. It felt neither cold nor warm. It felt like nothing at all. "How many people know about this?" he asked. 117 personnel total. The Admiral kept it small. Used private funding, off-book resources. "And it works?" "All of it." Taylor smiled. "Every impossible bit. Completely silent running. Invisible to all known scanning methods. And the weapons," he shook his head in wonder. "We had to build new testing equipment just to measure them." Walker turned to his officers from the Sentinel, their faces showing a mix of confusion and hope. "I need volunteers," he said. "This isn't an official mission. There's no backup, no support from Earth Command. We'll be alone." His first officer, Lieutenant Anna Foster, stepped forward without hesitation. "The Sentinel crew is yours, sir. All of us." Walker nodded, grateful. "Chief Taylor, how soon can she be ready for departure?" "She's been ready for months, Captain." Admiral Reed's final order was to keep her at launch readiness. Taylor handed Walker a small device. "This is your command key. The ship will only activate for you." Walker took the device and looked up at the Phantom again. For 3 years, he had watched humanity retreat, had received reports of colonies destroyed, had seen the death toll rise while flying a glorified patrol boat. Now, the impossible ship was his. "Begin crew transfer immediately," he ordered. "We launch in 6 hours." As they prepared to board, Walker stood alone, looking at the silent battleship. They had said it was impossible. They had been wrong. And soon, the galaxy would learn just how wrong. Captain James Walker stood on the bridge of the UES Phantom, surrounded by screens showing only stars. His hand rested on the command chair, not quite believing he was here. "Systems check complete," reported Lieutenant Anna Foster from the operations console. "All systems green." Walker nodded. "Begin undocking procedure." Chief Engineer Taylor's voice came through the speakers. "Captain, I'm staying at the facility with a small team. Someone needs to erase the evidence once you're gone." "Understood," Walker replied. "And thank you." The Phantom detached from the hidden base with no sound, no vibration. None of the usual shuddering that came with a ship's launch. It was eerily smooth. "Conventional engines only until we clear the asteroid belt," Walker ordered. "Then we'll test the quantum drive." As they reached open space, Walker looked at his small crew. Most were from his patrol ship, the Sentinel. Good people, but not trained for an advanced vessel like this. "We need more specialists," he said to Foster. "Tactical experts, engineers who understand this technology." Foster brought up personnel files on her screen. "I might have some ideas, sir." She showed him 3 files. The first was for Lieutenant Maria Donovan, with a red flag on her record. Court-martialed for insubordination. Walker raised an eyebrow. She disobeyed orders to abandon civilians on Outpost 7, Foster explained. Saved 53 people, but the brass didn't like being questioned. She's the best tactical officer in the fleet. The second file belonged to Robert Wilson, a civilian engineer. Wilson wrote the original papers on quantum field theory that your designs built upon, Foster said. The scientific community laughed at him. He's been working as a repair tech on Lunar Base. The third file showed a young communications officer named David Miller. He taught himself 6 alien languages without formal training, Foster explained. Has a gift for understanding cultural patterns. They stuck him in a listening post because he's unusual. Walker closed the files. Find them. Bring them in. 1 week later, the Phantom hovered at the edge of the New Geneva system. With its stealth systems active, the ship was invisible to all sensors. The new crew members had come aboard, each shocked to discover the ship they'd been told was impossible. Captain, we're picking up a distress signal, Miller called from his station. His fingers moved constantly as he worked the communications console. Coalition diplomatic vessel under attack by Vorn warships. Walker stood. Show me. The main screen lit up. A sleek coalition ship was surrounded by 3 Vorn destroyers, angular, predatory vessels with weapon ports glowing red. The coalition ship is the Harmony, Miller reported, carrying diplomats from 6 worlds, including Ilara, daughter of the Supreme Counselor. Lieutenant Donovan, now at the tactical station, studied the battle with narrow eyes. The Vorn are toying with them. They could have destroyed that ship already. They want hostages, Walker guessed. Engineer Wilson looked up from his console. Captain, this is the perfect test for our systems. The Coalition has the most advanced scanning technology in the galaxy. If they can't detect us, then no one can, Walker finished. He made his decision. Battle stations. Bring us in, silent running. The Phantom glided toward the battle, completely undetected. The crew watched in tense silence as they took position behind the largest Vorn destroyer. Weapons status, Walker asked. Pulse cannons charge, Donovan reported. Targeting systems locked. Walker took a deep breath. Target their engine sections and weapons arrays only. Minimum power. Fire. Blue light flashed from the Phantom's hidden weapon ports. The pulse hit the first Vorn ship, slicing through its engines. The destroyer drifted, powerless. They don't know where it came from, Miller said, listening to Vorn communications. They're confused. Second target, Walker ordered. Another flash, another disabled Vorn ship. The third destroyer began turning in circles, firing randomly into space. Their sensors show nothing, Donovan said, unable to hide her amazement. They can't see us at all. Walker leaned forward. Send this message to the Coalition ship. Text only. Harmony, this is a friendly vessel. We will cover your escape. Leave immediately. On screen, they watched as the Coalition ship limped away. The third Vorn destroyer, panicking now, fired one last volley before retreating as well. Should we follow them? Foster asked. Walker shook his head. Not today. Our mission was to test our capabilities, not start a war. He turned to Miller. Are they talking about us? Miller nodded, listening to intercepted signals. The Coalition ship is broadcasting thanks to their unknown savior. They're very confused. High Admiral Marcus himself is sending out a message, Miller continued, surprised. He's requesting a meeting with the mysterious ship. And the Vorn? Walker asked. Calling us a ghost. A demon. Miller looked up. They're scared. 2 days later, the Phantom observed an emergency meeting of Coalition military leaders from a safe distance. The ship's advanced sensors could pick up their discussions without being detected. On the bridge, the crew watched as High Admiral Marcus addressed the gathered officers. Behind him stood a striking woman with silver-streaked dark hair, Ilara, daughter of the Supreme Counselor. The unknown vessel disabled 3 Vorn destroyers without being detected by either side, Marcus was saying. The weapon signatures don't match anything in our database. Could it be a new coalition prototype? Someone asked. No, Marcus said firmly. All our ships are accounted for. Ilara stepped forward. Whatever this ship is, whoever commands it, they save my life and the lives of every diplomat aboard the Harmony. We need to find them. Walker watched her thoughtful face on the screen. She seems different from the other coalition leaders. Sir, Miller called urgently from his station. Emergency transmission from Earth Command. The Vorn have changed course. Their main fleet is now heading directly for Earth. Estimated arrival: 3 days. Walker's face hardened. So much for our test run. Set course for Earth, maximum speed. He looked at his crew, determination in his eyes. It's time to show what this impossible ship can really do. As the Phantom vanished into the darkness of space, both the Coalition and the Vorn remained unaware of its presence. The silent hunter, moving without a trace toward the coming battle. Earth Command reports that the Vorn fleet has split. Lieutenant Foster announced on the bridge of the Phantom. Most ships still head for Earth, but a group of 6 has broken away toward the outer colonies. Captain Walker frowned. That doesn't make sense. Why divide their forces when they're so close to their main target? Maybe they're not just after Earth, suggested Lieutenant Donovan from Tactical. Maybe they want to destroy everything human. Walker shook his head. There's something else going on. He turned to Miller. Any coalition communications about this? Miller adjusted his headset. Nothing direct, but there's unusual movement from their observation posts. They're repositioning to get better views of both Earth and the colonies the Vorn are targeting. They're setting up to wash, Walker said, his voice hardening. Not to help. Engineer Wilson looked up from his console. Captain, instead of rushing back to Earth, I suggest we follow the Vorn splinter fleet. See what they're really up to. Walker considered this. Agreed. Change course. Let's see what's so important about those colonies. The Phantom silently tracked the 6 Vorn vessels to a small mining colony on Europa 7, staying far enough back to avoid any chance of detection. They're not attacking, Foster observed, watching the Vorn ships take position around the small moon. They're waiting for something. Captain, Miller called urgently. I'm picking up transmissions between the Vorn and a coalition science vessel. The bridge fell silent. Show me, Walker ordered. The screen displayed a sleek coalition ship approaching the Vorn fleet. There was no sign of hostility between them. Miller's fingers flew over his console as he decoded the transmissions. The coalition vessel is asking for confirmation that the test can proceed as scheduled. The Vorn commander confirms. Test. Walker echoed. What test? As if in answer, a massive Vorn ship emerged from behind the moon. It was unlike any vessel they had seen before, asymmetrical, with a massive forward section that glowed with sickly green energy. What is that? Foster asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Wilson studied the readings. The energy signature is off the charts. It's some kind of weapon, but the power levels. He looked up, his face pale. It could crack a planet. They're going to test a planet killer on a human colony, Walker realized. And the coalition is here to watch. Miller continued translating the intercepted communications. Sir, there's more. This is just a demonstration. The real target is Earth. They plan to use this weapon there in 3 days. Walker's hands gripped the back of his chair. And the coalition knows about this. They've known all along. According to these transmissions, they've known for months, Miller confirmed. They've calculated that a Vorn-human war keeps the Vorn busy and away from coalition space. Donovan's face hardened with anger. They're sacrificing us. Walker took a deep breath, steadying himself. Options. We could warn Earth, Foster suggested. But even with evacuation, billions would die. We could reveal ourselves to the coalition, Wilson said. Prove humans have advanced technology too. Or, Donovan said, her eyes fixed on the tactical display. We could do what this ship was built for. We could fight. Walker nodded slowly. Plot a course that will take us behind the weapon ship. Full stealth. We're going to hit them with everything we've got. The Phantom moved like a ghost through space, completely undetected as it positioned itself behind the massive Vorn weapon ship. All power to forward weapons, Walker ordered. Target their main energy core. Ready, Donovan confirmed. Fire. The Phantom's weapons blazed to life, focused beams of energy striking the Vorn ship's vulnerable rear section. The massive vessel shuddered, green energy flickering as systems failed. Again, Walker commanded. A second blast tore through the crippled weapon ship. Secondary explosions rippled across its hull. The other Vorn ships are responding, Foster reported. They're firing blindly. They still can't see us. What about the Coalition observer? Walker asked. Miller checked his readings. They're maintaining position, recording everything. They seem confused. Walker made a quick decision. Hit the main weapon ship one more time, then target the Coalition vessel's engines. Disable them, but no casualties. The Phantom executed the attack perfectly. The Vorn weapon ship broke apart in a massive explosion, while the Coalition vessel drifted, its engines dark. Now for the other Vorn ships, Walker said. One by one, the Phantom disabled the remaining Vorn vessels, moving silently between targets. The enemy fired uselessly into empty space, unable to track their invisible attacker. Sir, Miller called out suddenly. Our cloaking system is fluctuating. Wilson rushed to an engineering station. The weapons are drawing too much power. We need to reduce output or... Before he could finish, the Phantom briefly shimmered into visibility, then disappeared again. Status, Walker demanded. Cloak restored, Wilson reported. But they saw us. For just a moment, but they saw us. On the main screen, the disabled Coalition vessel had managed to get emergency systems online. They were broadcasting on all frequencies. Miller listened to the transmission, his expression grave. They're reporting a human-designed ship of unknown configuration. They got images. Walker's jaw tightened. So much for being a ghost. The Vorn ships are sending out emergency signals too, Foster added. They're calling for reinforcements. Walker stared at the debris of the weapon ship floating in space. We've stopped the immediate threat, but we've also revealed ourselves. Both the Vorn and the Coalition now know we exist. Sir, Miller said quietly, I've decoded more of the earlier transmissions. The Coalition wasn't just observing. Some of their scientists helped design that weapon. Silence fell over the bridge. So now we have two enemies, Donovan said finally. Walker shook his head. No, we have one enemy and one potential ally who's forgotten their conscience. He turned to his crew. We've bought Earth some time by destroying that weapon. Now we need to use that time wisely. What's our next move, Captain? Foster asked. Walker's eyes were cold with determination. We're going to make sure everyone knows what almost happened here. The Coalition citizens, the Vorn civilians, everyone. Then we're going to make both powers too busy with their own problems to threaten Earth. And how do we do that? Wilson asked. By becoming the thing they fear most. Walker replied. A silent hunter that could be anywhere, that could strike anyone. He looked around at his crew. Remember, they said this battleship was impossible. Let's show them just how wrong they were. As the Phantom vanished into the darkness of space, leaving disabled ships in its wake, both the Coalition and Vorn commanders received the same short message on their emergency systems. You were warned. Earth is under our protection now. The data packet is ready for broadcast, announced Miller from his communication station. The bridge of the Phantom was dimly lit, the crew working tirelessly for 2 days straight. Captain Walker nodded, dark circles under his eyes. Send it through every public channel, in both Vorn and Coalition space. Use the signal bouncing technique Wilson developed. The data packet contained everything. Recordings of the planned attack on the human colony, the Coalition's agreement to observe, the weapon meant for Earth, the truth that both governments had hidden from their own people. Transmission complete, Miller confirmed. It will be impossible for them to trace it back to us. Now we wait, Walker said, settling into his command chair. They didn't wait long. Within hours, reports flooded in from both territories. Public outrage swept through coalition worlds as citizens learned their leaders had agreed to sacrifice an entire species. On Vorn planets, questions arose about why resources were being spent on exterminating humans rather than solving domestic problems. It's working, Foster observed, monitoring the chaos. Both governments are facing internal pressure. Good, Walker said. Now for Phase 2. Set course for Nexus Station. Nexus Station was the meeting point between Vorn and Coalition territories, neutral ground where representatives from both powers could meet safely. Intelligence gathered by the Phantom confirmed a secret meeting was scheduled between high-ranking officials from both sides. 11 Coalition ships and 17 Vorn vessels, Donovan reported as they approached the station. Heavy security. Can we get close enough to listen? Walker asked. Miller adjusted his equipment, already patched into their communications. They're meeting to discuss how to respond to the leak and us. Walker leaned forward. Us. They're calling us the Human Anomaly Ship, Miller explained. Both sides are convinced we're some secret human project. The Coalition representative is arguing that our existence violates treaties. The Vorn want to make us their primary target. So they're bonding over a common enemy, Walker mused. Perfect. Engineer Wilson looked concerned. Captain, our systems are showing strain. We've been running at full stealth for too long without maintenance. How long can we maintain? Walker asked. A few more hours at most, Wilson replied. After that, we risk catastrophic failure. Walker considered their options. We need to act now then. Donovan, ready all weapons. Target the station's communication array only. Sir, Donovan questioned. We're not killing anyone today, Walker clarified. We're just going to interrupt their meeting and leave a message they won't forget. The Phantom silently approached the heavily guarded station. When they were in position, Walker gave the order. Fire. Precision beams struck the station's external communications array, disabling it instantly. Alarms blared throughout the station as emergency protocols activated. Now, Miller, send our message to every screen in that station. Miller's fingers flew over his console. Transmitting now. Inside Nexus Station, the gathered officials watched in horror as every screen displayed the same message. There will be no alliance against Earth. Decidedly who your enemies are. Below the text was detailed evidence of corruption in both governments, secret deals, embezzled funds, abuses of power that neither side knew the other possessed. Message delivered, Miller reported. Both fleets are scrambling to respond. Get us out of here, Walker ordered. Maximum speed. The Phantom turned to leave, but a warning light flashed on Wilson's console. Captain, the cloak is failing. He called out urgently. The Phantom flickered into visibility just as the Coalition and Vorn ships began scanning the area. For 3 critical seconds, the impossible ship was fully exposed before the cloak re-engaged. They've seen us, Foster said grimly. Full retreat, Walker ordered. Get us to safe distance. The Phantom escaped, but the damage was done. For the first time, both powers had clear scans of the vessel. Back in the safety of deep space, the crew assessed their situation. The good news is they still can't track us when we're cloaked, Wilson reported. The bad news is the entire system needs overhaul. We're running on backup power for the cloaking technology. What about weapons? Walker asked. Operating at 60% capacity, Donovan replied. Miller looked up from his station. Sir, both the Coalition and Vorn fleets have changed course. They're all heading to Earth now. A heavy silence fell over the bridge. Why? Foster finally asked. What changed? The Coalition Supreme Council is claiming they're going to protect Earth from the Vorn, Miller explained, listening to intercepted communications. but their real orders are to find and capture our ship. And the Vorn? Walker asked. They're not even pretending. They want revenge for their destroyed weapon ship. They're bringing everything they have. Walker stood up and walked to the view screen, staring out at the stars. So our plan worked too well. We've made them both so angry they're willing to set aside their differences temporarily. But we've also made them rush their timeline. Earth's defenses can't stop either fleet, let alone both, Donovan said bleakly. No, Walker agreed. But we can. He turned to his crew. Wilson, what would happen if we redirected power from the cloaking system to weapons, just temporarily? Wilson's eyes widened. Theoretically, we could triple weapon output, but we'd be completely visible and vulnerable afterward. For how long? Walker asked. At least 6 hours before the cloak could be reestablished. Wilson calculated. Maybe longer. Walker nodded slowly. So a one-time advantage. Then we're exposed. He looked around at his tired crew. I need options, people. Creative ones. Foster spoke up first. What if we contacted Earth? Let them know we exist. They wouldn't believe us, Donovan countered. And even if they did, what could they do? Miller had been unusually quiet, listening to something in his headset. Captain, I'm picking up an encrypted transmission. It's from the Coalition diplomat, Ilara. What? Walker was surprised. How would she even know how to reach us? She doesn't, Miller explained. She's broadcasting on all frequencies, hoping we're listening. She says she wants to help us. She says she disagrees with her father's decisions. Walker considered this. It could be a trap, or it could be our first real ally, Foster suggested. As they debated, Wilson suddenly straightened. Captain, I have an idea. It's risky, but it might work. He pulled up schematics on the main screen. What if the Phantom isn't the only impossible ship anymore? Walker looked at the designs forming on the screen, a slow smile spreading across his face. How quickly can you implement this? With help from Earth's orbital facilities. 2 days, maybe less, Wilson replied. Walker nodded decisively. Set course for Earth, silent running. And Miller, send a response to Ilara. Tell her if she truly wants to help humanity, we'll need proof of her intentions. As the Phantom turned toward Earth, Walker looked at the tactical display showing the massive enemy fleets converging on his homeworld. 2 days. They had 2 days to prepare for the battle that would determine the fate of humanity. They thought one impossible ship was a problem, he said quietly. Let's show them what else is possible. Earth's orbital defense platforms looked small and fragile as the massive Vorn fleet appeared at the edge of the solar system. 87 warships, led by their new flagship carrying the hastily rebuilt planet killer weapon. Behind them, at a cautious distance, 23 coalition vessels approached, claiming to be Earth's protectors. In Earth's command center, generals and admirals stared at their screens in despair. We can't stop them, Admiral Green said, the same man who had dismissed Walker's designs years ago. Evacuation ships are still loading, but there's no time to save everyone. A junior officer rushed in. Sir, we're receiving a transmission from near Luna. It's Captain Walker. Admiral Green's head snapped up. Walker. From the Sentinel. Put him through. The main screen flickered to life, showing Captain James Walker on the bridge of a ship unlike anything they had seen before. Admiral Green, Walker said calmly. I know we don't have much time, so I'll be brief. 3 years ago, you said my ship design was impossible. I'm here to prove you wrong. Green's face showed confusion, then shock as he realized what he was seeing. The silent Phantom. You actually built it. Admiral Reed did, Walker corrected. And it works exactly as I promised. But we need your help for what comes next. What can we possibly do against those fleets? Green asked. Walker allowed himself a small smile. Just keep your defense platforms offline until I give the signal. And be ready to witness the impossible. The Phantom waited in the shadow of Luna, running on minimal power to maintain its cloak. The ship's systems had been pushed to their limits over the past 2 days as Engineer Wilson implemented his desperate plan. The Vorn fleet has entered Mars orbit, Foster reported. Coalition ships are taking position near Earth's defense grid. Walker nodded. Any word from our potential ally? Miller touched his earpiece. Ilara's ship has broken formation with the main coalition fleet. She claims to have convinced 12 other captains to follow her lead. Will they actually help us when the time comes? Donovan asked skeptically. We'll find out soon enough, Walker replied. He opened the ship-wide communication channel. This is the captain. What we do today will determine the future of humanity. They said our ship was impossible. To date we proved that nothing is impossible when survival is at stake. He turned to Wilson. Status of Operation Echo. Wilson checked his readings. All modules are in position and synchronized. Field generators at maximum capacity. And our special surprise? Walker asked. Wilson smiled tiredly. Ready and waiting. Just as you designed it. Walker nodded. Then it's time. He looked around at his crew. Remember Admiral Reed's last order. The Earth's last hope. Let's make him proud. The Phantom powered up its engines, still hidden behind Luna. Walker gave his final command. Today, nothing will be silent. Execute Operation Echo. The Vorn flagship approached Earth, its planet killer weapon powering up. The Coalition fleet hung back, ostensibly to protect Earth, but really waiting to claim the mysterious human ship. Suddenly, alarms blared across every vessel in both fleets. Energy signatures detected, the Vorn officer shouted. Multiple sources, appearing from nowhere. Around Earth, space seemed to ripple and tear as 30 small ships appeared simultaneously, decloaking in perfect synchronization. Each was a miniature version of the Phantom, black and sleek, with weapons already powered. Impossible, the Vorn commander whispered. The mini-Phantoms attacked with precision, targeting the Vorn fleet's weapon systems first. The small ships moved with incredible speed, firing and recloaking before the enemy could lock weapons. In the chaos, the true Phantom emerged from behind Luna, all power diverted from its cloaking system to weapons. The impossible battleship glowed with energy as it charged straight toward the Vorn flagship. What are those small ships? Admiral Green demanded from Earth Command. On his screen, Walker smiled. Not ships at all. Just drone projections, empty shells with basic weapons and the same cloaking technology. But the Vorn don't know that. The truth was both simpler and more brilliant than anyone had guessed. While the alien fleets had raced to Earth, Walker's team had deployed dozens of small drones around the planet. Each projected the image of a Phantom-class vessel while carrying just enough weaponry to seem threatening. The real danger was the confusion and fear they created. Now, Admiral, Walker said, activate your defense grid. Earth's orbital platforms came to life, targeting the distracted Vorn ships. As the humans joined the fight, 13 coalition vessels broke formation, Ilara and her allies, keeping their promise to help. The real Phantom, no longer silent or hidden, charged straight for the Vorn flagship. Its weapons were now operating at triple power, burning through their energy reserves at an unsustainable rate. All weapons, maximum output, Walker ordered. Target their planet killer. The Phantom fired everything it had. Beams of energy tore through the Vorn flagship's shields, cutting deep into the massive weapon structure. Secondary explosions rippled across the enemy vessel. They're trying to fire the weapon, Foster shouted as alerts flashed across her console. Again, Walker commanded, everything we have. The Phantom's hull groaned as it unleashed a final barrage. The Vorn flagship split apart, its weapon core collapsing in a blinding flash that took 3 nearby ships with it. Seeing their flagship destroyed, the remaining Vorn ships began retreating. The coalition vessels that had remained loyal to the Supreme Council hesitated, then turned away as well, unwilling to fight alone. We've won, Donovan said in disbelief as the enemy fleets fled. Not without cost, Wilson replied. checking his systems. Main power is offline. Weapons depleted. The cloak is burned out completely. Walker nodded. But we're still here, and so is Earth. Miller listened to his communications. Sir, Admiral Green is requesting permission to send repair teams. And Alara's ship is approaching. She's asking to come aboard. Walker looked out at Earth, still whole, still safe. Grant both requests. It's time humanity introduced itself properly to the galaxy. As repair ships approached the now visible Phantom, a message was broadcast to every human on Earth and throughout the colonies. Today we faced extinction and survived. Today an impossible ship saved us all. And from this day forward, humanity will never be silent again. The impossible battleship hung in space above Earth, damaged but victorious. They had said it couldn't be built. They had been wrong. And now, nothing would ever be the same.